The video that you are about to watch is an excerpt of the original. After my long efforts in dealing with YouTube's copyright management system, I had to give up. I haven't given up my projects though. And while we cannot publish the entire video here due to the imminent danger of having the channel closed down, you can still enjoy excerpts which we've carefully chosen in order to make this video meaningful, fun, and educational. If you want to watch the complete video, including the sound of the music from the original recording, as well as special edition videos which will never be published here on YouTube due to the same copyright issues, and the Beatles 150 series, as well as other series and courses, you're welcome to visit my Ko-fi or Patreon page. I hope you enjoy this video. Hi everyone! I'm finally back to the Beatles 150 series. It's been a little bit of a break, but now I have the piano, and now we can continue, and I'm excited about it. Because of the break, I've kind of, maybe I haven't lost, but it's going to be a little bit of a refresher for me to step back into the Beatles world of music, and so I feel like this song today is going to kind of get me back in the zone. We'll see how it goes. It is the 24th in the series. 24 out of 150. I've got a ways to go. And it's going to be Tell Me Why. The genre is rock and roll. Sounds pretty classic. And one undisputed fact that is corroborated by both Lennon and McCartney is that Tell Me Why was entirely written by John. I think a lot of these songs, like Tell Me Why, may have been based in real experiences, McCartney explains, or arguments with Cynthia or whatever, but it never occurred to us until later to put that slant on it all. That's interesting. I noticed that, well, and it's natural, the music they're producing, especially since they are not, say, conservatory-trained musicians where they've had professors walking them through different styles and genres and encouraging them to try this or try that. Everything they bring to the table comes from their own lives. So it's not surprising at all for the Beatles and for the bulk of rock music to come from personal lived experiences, or at least ideas and experiences of friends, the world that they live in. Which is probably why so much of it feels so relatable, because it is not only part of the time, but part of the experience of the time, the lived experience of the time for so many people. Although Lennon never suggested as much in regard to Tell Me Why, when examining its lyrics, one can easily see how a disagreement with Cynthia could have been an inspiration. Accusing her of lying, as repeated twice in every refrain, fits in well with his self-admitted jealousy at the time. Well, I didn't know that he admitted being jealous, but I guess I know now. On March 31st, 1964, the Beatles continued filming their movie at the Scala Theatre in London, where they simulated a live television concert. They mimed at least 5 songs, including Tell Me Why, before an audience of 350 paid actors, which included 13-year-old future Genesis drummer and solo artist Phil Collins. Well, so Phil Collins was a paid actor at 13 to be part of this Beatles movie. That is an interesting connection. Well, let's dive in and see how it goes. Well, I do feel like I'm back in the Beatles land now. It's a simple, kind of repetitive and short song. In some ways it reminds me of, well, this refrain, the chorus, tell me why you cried and why you lied to me. It comes back so many times, and even though it's kind of a less cheery refrain, the repetitiveness and the format of this, the simplicity of it, and it's still incredibly catchy, even though it's not particularly cheery. It is catchy. And by the time I was at the end, even though it's just a couple minutes long or something, how long is it? 2 minutes and 8 seconds, start to finish. Within 2 minutes, I have this chorus. Tell me why you cried. And I started feeling like I wanted to sing along with it. The same sort of catchy vibe and musically carries you along with it. Kind of like It Won't Be Long. It won't be long, yeah, 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 it won't be long, yeah. Tell me why you cried. Different mood, same signature Beatles grab you and make you sing along. Okay, so now I've got my screens up here and let's just start from the beginning and listen to the opening again. I misspoke earlier. I was talking about the verse followed by the chorus, but actually it starts with the chorus. It opens with the chorus, doesn't it? But this introduction, so we have an introduction and then the chorus enters. But I'll tell you what I love about this is the drums. There is a very distinctive, frequently repeated figure, rhythmic figure in the drums. And it's really vibrant. Da-da-da-dum, pa-dum, da-da-da-dum, pa-dum, da-da-da-dum, pa-dum. And it's almost being used like a riff, isn't it? Like, well, we have the chords here, which I'll play in a moment. Bump, bum, bump, bum. But listen to this drum. So here is Ringo basically taking control of everything to do with the musical accompaniment, because he is the one setting up the riff, the musical theme, motif that features over and over and drives us through the song. It's not a guitar, it's not a harmonica, a piano, or anything else. It's the drums creating the riff here. And so it has a very powerful feel and maybe a little bit brassy and brash when the voices enter, because it sounds to me like they are well, he sets up this powerful vibe from the beginning. And so the voices have to come in very assertively and forcefully themselves. Kind of interesting with the topic, tell me why you lied to me, and like a little bit frustrated and throwing up your hands and saying, you know, you gotta tell me why, because I'm fed up and I can't deal with this anymore. It's almost what it sounds like. And it all starts with these wonderful drums at the opening. The lyrics, to me, sound a bit childish in a way. Meaning, it sounds to me like some young person who's not terribly experienced in relationship management is going to confront somebody because of whatever happened. But rather than handling it in a mature way, they're just going to go right up to your face and say, tell me why you lied to me. So we have basically an E7. This is our E7, which is E, the E major chord. Or it could be the E minor chord. It's not really voiced at the opening. Actually, I think it is kind of voiced. Let's listen again. It's clearly an E minor. So we have an E minor 7 going down to an A major 7 again. So from the very beginning, we we have this 5-1-5-1 feeling, bum, 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 but the chords on top of it are 7 chords. And it's not really prominent at the beginning. The 7 quality is a bit in the background. We have E minor 7. As I said, that's E, G, B, D. And it sounds to me like D is on the top in the guitar, from what I can pick out in the sound mix. And then we're settling down onto the A chord, which is A, C sharp, E, and then the 7, G. But the upper note of it that I hear in the mix sounds like C sharp. So we're going, sounds to me, as I said, it's kind of in the background, but that's what I'm picking out with my ears. You know, I'm getting to understand more and more why so many of you are so enthusiastically positive about Ringo as a drummer. Because everything he does feels so perfectly appropriate for the moment. We had this wonderful riff to start us off and launch this little simple song powerfully. And then, as soon as the voices enter, he's out of the spotlight. He steps back and he gives them dum, bum, bum, just to keep it motoring along, keep the motion going, keep the motion going. And then we have the bass in there as well. But I feel like I really appreciate his drumming in this song. That's our bass line. And so even in this simple little song, which we could say is pretty classic, pretty perhaps even formulaic, certainly not harmonically exploratory, but there are still so many different layers and details of things happening. There are Ringo's drums powering the piece along. There are the brassy, almost trumpet-like voices, which pierce through and cut everything when they enter. And then this bass, which is a very active, moving part, contrasting with the drums and the voices, which are, tell me why, very, we could say slowly progressing. They're more extended, long lines. And then we have this bass, which kind of reminds me of more blues style bass playing. It doesn't, I wouldn't call this a blues song, and yet there's something about it that really makes me say they pulled some things from the blues style and reapplied them here very effectively. Here is where I feel like the blues jazz style rears its head very obviously because of the swung rhythm and the sort of minor quality working in there in the voices. Listen to what's happening with the voices. Yeah, we're working with D minor. Well, I gave you everything I had. This is D. And we're kind of working with D, E, F, basically. They swing it with their voices. They really dig into the swing here. And notice how they're... I was just saying a moment ago in the chorus, the opening chorus, their vocal line uses long notes. I should make this pin a bit thicker, I think. There we go. Long notes. We have quarter notes, or crotchets as we like to call them in British terminology, but however you call them, they're these kind of notes here, where we have a black note head with a stem either down or up, and that's a certain length of time. Well, here it's a whole beat, and pretty much all that they're singing, except for a few exceptions, like right here. That's 2 notes per beat, but pretty much, well, let's say the large majority of what they're singing in the chorus, in the refrain, is long notes, meaning 1 note per beat, sometimes even a little bit more than a note per beat, extending it even beyond a beat's length. The slow line, underneath which the bass is doing its walking bum 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 bum. And then suddenly we come to the verse. And the first time it shows up, the voices, the music itself has not increased tempo, but the pacing of the lyrics and the pacing of the notes that the voices are singing, suddenly quicker. Well, I gave you everything I had. Da 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 ba 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 bum. There's a lot more note changing happening there than we had in the chorus. And if you listen and compare, you'll hear easily between the two. And notice again the swing. Well, one of the weaknesses of music on a page is that it has not evolved to the point where it can show the swing rhythm. Because swing has a certain style, a certain feel to it, a certain flexibility, at the same time, reliable energy. And nobody has come up with a way to represent that on paper, which is okay, because swing is something you have to feel. So what we see here are what we call straight notes, straight rhythms. And if I were to play it as it's written on paper, then it would sound like this. Just very straight and kind of boring. But listen to how they sing it. It is the rhythm of spoken language. Think of it. You would never walk up to somebody and say, well, I gave you everything I had, straightly. It's, well, I gave you everything I had, and the swing style reflects that. And that is one of the things I love about the jazz and blues musical styles, is that they come heavily, they're heavily drawn from spoken language accents and rhythmic patterns. And it is so interesting to recognize and explore it. But here, it spices up the music beautifully, as well as giving it that little bit of melancholy blues feel, even though this is a rock style piece. Dum, bum, 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 cheat, 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 banging on the drums. And a good strong bass and this singing that's going on. And yet there's this melancholy blues element happening. Who would think of having a really dark conflict, representing a dark conflict musically, and then throwing this in? Is there anything I can do? So surprisingly, with all the looping and weaving around it musically, I think there's an edge of humor in this as well. And I like that. Because one of the things everybody should remember is when you are in the midst of a conflict situation, keep your sense of humor. It can save you a lot of grief. Really enjoyable to listen to and experience, even in this little song, which, as I said, there's nothing grandly, harmonically significant or anything like that. It's a short little rock and roll song, but very well done. And all these little details really help to keep it from being purely cliche. There's still the fingerprint of Beatles style, and part of that includes imagination and humor. And that comes out in this music on the first listen, even for me. I don't know, is this early or middle music? Whatever. Anyway, it's the earlier stuff. I am enjoying it because it's there. They have a fingerprint, they have a vibrancy, their music has a life and a style to it, which is so clearly at this point they know what they're doing, and they're doing it brilliantly, and they're just able to throw it off every single time. Doesn't matter what's coming out, whether it's a filler piece, whether it's just something they've got to produce because they need another piece of music, or just something fun like this. Tell me why you lied to me. It's there. And I'm enjoying every micro step along their journey. And I do feel now, after listening to the song, that I'm back in Beatle land. So more is coming soon, and I'll see you next time.